Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody, Thursday night. And, you know, we're in a country right now that, unfortunately, you can't speak freely as an American. You know, it's like the Soviet Union. It is Castro's Cuba. It is Venezuela under Maduro. Go down the line. And then there's Ethan Hawke, who was great in Dead Poet Society, I guess, back in, let's see, I'm doing the math, about 40 years ago. But this actor now is saying that, oh, boy, I'm so afraid to speak in America that I'm in front of a national television audience saying that everything I want to because I guess I can speak in America. It's so ridiculous. Here is Ethan Hawke. Cut number one, go.
I never felt scared about what I was going to say until the last couple of years, where you feel like, oh, I have to be careful, or what? I don't know, but there's a kind of fear in the air that I've never felt before.
Oh, no.
And it's not America. To get to be an artist in a free country, I've had enough of an education to know what a privilege that is. And I don't feel that way anymore. And that's something that has to change.
Yeah. Boy, I can't speak out in America until I'm literally in front of a microphone on national television expressing my views. This is unbelievable. That's Ethan Hawke. Oh, boy. Meanwhile, in Virginia, Governor Abigail Spamberger, all right, see, I created a name there, Spamberger. It's actually Spamberger. This person ran as a moderate, as somebody who's going to bring people back to the middle, Democrats. And look, we're not the crazy liberals, AOC, Mamdani on the left that you think we are. Oh, no. We're actually more like Bill Clinton in the 90s. We're more like JFK in the early 60s. Well, here's the problem. Spamberger ran on affordability and bringing affordability back to those in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And then, obviously, she's speaking nationwide. Democrats know how to solve this problem because, boy, they did such a great job during the Biden administration, during a time where we had inflation above 9%, when Democrats voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, which did nothing to lower inflation. In fact, it went above levels we have not seen since Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was a thing in theaters back in 1981. Anyway, here is Spamberger, actually not Spamberger, but here's a report out of Virginia talking about exactly what's going on in the Commonwealth of Virginia after they elected this moderate to succeed Governor Glenn Youngkin. They're going to raise taxes on, trust me, everything when you hear this report. Cut number two, go.
Many tax increases and proposals Democrats in Virginia are considering passing. They include additional local sales tax in all Virginia counties and cities, new personal property tax on electric leaf blowers and electric landscaping equipment, large employer tax, gun and ammunition tax, new income tax brackets, a delivery tax. This would hit you if you make an order on Amazon, Uber Eats, or an order that includes UPS, FedEx delivery, etc. here in Northern Virginia. There's also a tax they're looking at for events, concerts, an investment income tax, storage facility tax, gym membership tax, dog walking tax, dog grooming tax.
Wait. Dog grooming tax in Virginia? Dog walking tax? See, look, I have a line, and my line is when I want to have my dog walked, when I want to have my dog groomed, Teddy, Maximus, you're going to tax that? I'm sorry. I am now Patrick Henry, right, ringing the bell throughout the colonies. It's no good. But the point is that Governor Spamberger and what we're going to see here in Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, and then obviously Zohran Mamdani, they're going to raise your taxes to the tilt to pay for people who should not be here legally. That's the whole ball game, because the end game is, of course, that if they're not here legally, you make them citizens. Therefore, they vote for you, and therefore you stay in power. Nothing more, nothing less. That's what we're seeing now at this point. Meanwhile, if I'm Hillary Clinton, who ran for president in 2016, said she was a moderate. True story. And maybe she was then. Here she is talking about how, Hillary, close your eyes once again and think that Donald Trump is saying this right now instead of Hillary. And I swear to God, you cannot tell the difference. This is cut number 4. Go.
As to illegal aliens, we agree with you that we do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration into this country. We know now that too many people come in for medical care as it is. We certainly don't want them having the same benefits that American citizens are entitled to have.
Oh, Hillary with a much higher voice, sounding just like Donald Trump. Sounding just like Tom Homan. Speaking of Mr. Homan, well, this guy is now in charge of Minneapolis. He got a Presidential Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama when he served under him, under that administration. So Tom Homan's a guy that everybody trusts, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Nevertheless, here is Homan talking about how for the past 4 years, no one, and I mean no one, on the Democratic side talked about how our border was keeping illegals out of this country, therefore criminals out of this country, and now they're complaining about ICE? No thanks. This is cut 5. Go.
The questions we've seen and why we're here. What started this? 4 years of an open border where millions of people are led in this country unvetted. Remember, let's not forget, for 4 years, we were told the border secure. 4 years, we were told the border secure. And we all knew it wasn't. And I want this to be a positive thing we're doing here today. I also want to remember the politicians are continually attacking us. Where were they the last 4 years?
Yep, where you been? Thank you, Tom Homan. Anyway. Meanwhile, on the other side, there's Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts, slightly liberal. I don't know. We got Warren, we got Markey. Yeah, very liberal. Fortunately, I lived there for a year, Boston, Emerson College. Felt that whole effect, no question. Got out of there. I loved Emerson. Great school, don't get me wrong, but it was time to go. Anyway, here is Ed Markey in cut number 3. Basically, he's comparing the rioters, the agitators, those that are attacking ICE agents to, Minutemen during the Revolutionary War. No, actually, he said it. This is cut number 3. Go.
We are seeing something that is absolutely unprecedented. It actually goes back 250 years in Boston when the Minutemen and Minutewomen rose up in order to stand against King George and his arbitrary imposition of laws.
Yeah, that's what this is. We have a situation where you have rioters and agitators rebelling against those who are removing those who are in the country who are sex traffickers, child predators, child rapists in general, and murderers, violent criminals. And then we have a organization, an entity, government agency, law enforcement, named ICE, removing these people. And yet, we're going to compare the Minutemen of the Revolutionary War in terms of the protesters and instigators and agitators who are trying to get these people out, who are enforcing the law, I can't even not get my head around this, but that's where the Democratic Party is at. No question about it. Anyway, I don't know where to go from here except for, well, Tom Homan, once again. Because rhetoric and words mean everything. Whether you're Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, comparing ICE to the Gestapo, or you're Jacob Fry, who says to ICE, get the F out of town, or if you're Stephen Colbert, who we'll get to in a moment, who said that ICE agents are actually worse than the Nazi Gestapo. Said that on a show last night. We're going to talk about that later. The point is that when you use this rhetoric over and over again, the problem is that you're going to have people like Preddy, right? Alex Preddy, the guy who attacked ICE agents and had actually a 9mm semi-automatic weapon on him, not once but twice, when he instigated ICE agents. And there's video now showing him kicking out taillights, F-finger, spitting at ICE vehicles. And we're told that actually he's a protester, a nurse who's just, trying to protect his neighbors. No, it's not the way it works. Anyway, here is Tom Homan talking about rhetoric truly playing a role in what we're seeing in Minnesota, because we're not seeing it anywhere else. Texas, Florida, California, Illinois, New York, Georgia, doesn't matter. Red state, blue state. No one's resisting there, but they're resisting in Minnesota. Why is that, I wonder? Here's Tom Homan. Cut number 6, go.
I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish I wasn't right. I don't want to see anybody die. Not officers, not members of the community, and not the targets of our operations.
That's right. And Homan, has been there, again, since Obama was deporting 3 million people out of this country. And he was given the Presidential Medal of Honor. And now, this isn't a guy who's out to get illegals out of here and I don't care what it takes type of thing. He has done this over 3 presidential administrations. And he's done it well. But only under Trump, suddenly we see all the backlash, all of the protests, all of the agitators, because politically that is expedient. This is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, people. Well, it's very cold outside, as we know. I mean, I'm salting every night. Like I'm working for the NY, whatever it is, as far as like getting salt off the streets, off the sidewalks. It's a daily thing in the Concha household, no question. Meanwhile, boy, I was told, though, that this stuff would never happen again, ever. Al Gore, nearly the president of the United States in 2000, and a guy who was vice president from 1992 to 2000, well, he did this movie called The Inconvenient Truth, which only won 2 Oscars and a Nobel Peace Prize. Yep, it's true in 2006. Well, here is Al Gore talking about how the Arctic will be ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years in 2009, mind you, which means, I don't know, that was about 10 years ago. We were supposed to all melt and die. If the Arctic were to melt, therefore New York, Miami, San Francisco, Amsterdam, name your city near water, it would be underwater. That hasn't happened, but here's Al Gore, nevertheless, in Cut 9, saying that this absolutely would happen, and we'll talk about the, ramifications or lack thereof afterwards. Cut number 9, go.
These are figures that are fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they've been, I don't know when they were released, but I just got them yesterday. From Dr. Václav Maslowski at the Naval Postgraduate School, and this is the volumetric record of the ice. And some of the models suggest to Dr. Maslowski that there is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
Oh, my God. We're all going to die. Except, well, no. That was 2009. He said 5 to 7 years that this ice, cap could melt. But the problem is that it hasn't. As a matter of fact, on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, for example, which is right near the equator, also Gore predicted that also would melt the glaciers and ice caps and snow that's on there. Well, when you look at a website right now in 2026 on January 29th, well, all the snow is there, glaciers are there, ice caps are there, no melting. The point is that Al Gore, I'm thinking, may be wrong. And by the way, the same guy who, when you look at his house in Tennessee, had lights on everywhere, had power on everywhere, had an electric bill that looks like the national deficit. In other words, everybody is a hypocrite. Whether you're Leonardo DiCaprio and you go to Paris to get a climate change award and you fly there private, or everybody at Davos who flew there private to talk about climate change and how horrible it is, everybody is a hypocrite. And Al Gore is number one, outside of being the Baghdad Bob of climate change, as we saw in Inconvenient Truth, which came out 20 years ago, 2006. And boy, he won an Oscar. He won a Nobel Peace Prize for it. And now, how's that looking? Anyway, Al Gore could have been president of the United States, by the way, in 2000, outside of a couple of hundred votes in Florida. And boy, would that have changed the entire trajectory of the country and the world. I am Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. Back with so much more and so much fun in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right. She's not one, but a two-time New York Times bestselling author, recovering investment banker. I know plenty of those, that's certainly for sure. And basically, the person that I go to in these situations where I need to know whether the Trump accounts are a good investment or a bad investment. Carol, break it down for the layman's at home and then tell me whether I should put my kids, 12 and 10, into this. The floor is yours.
Sure. Well, there are a couple of different components to this, but if you think about a Trump account at sort of the highest level, it's basically a tax-advantaged investment account. So sort of like a custodial traditional IRA. So it's an opportunity for families to start saving for their youngins, while they're young, and it doesn't have the work requirement of a regular IRA. So I'm the kind of person, I think that if you are creating an investment as a habit over the long term, that is always a good thing. Now, the one distinction that I think has confused a lot of people is that newborns are getting a bonus of, I think it's $1,000, depending if you were born after January 1st, 2025 for the next few years. That's getting a bonus from the government, which I don't love because I don't think we can afford to do that. There are other entities who are stepping up to help with that. So I'm not as huge of a fan as the bonus, but in terms of your eligibility to open one, you don't have to have a newborn. As long as your kid is under the age of 18, you can open up this investment vehicle, and the opportunity to put up to $5,000, that's the current max, away a year on a tax-advantaged basis, tax-deferred basis, is a good thing.
Now, do you believe in Scott Bessent? In other words, you obviously follow the economy better than anybody, but this guy seems to be the MVP of the Trump administration as far as he's successful. What he has guided at this point in terms of the economy seems to be the right way when he says that if you invest in this, that you could have possibly $1 million by the time you get out of, let's say, college, if you invest in this as a parent to the max. Is that something that you believe in, or you tell me the pitfalls in here?
So, first of all, Scott Bessent is far and away the MVP. He's the Michael Jordan. He's the multi-year MVP of the administration, and the administration is very lucky to have him. And he's smart. He's on top of things. He knows the pitfalls, and I think, in general, he does a pretty good job of explaining things. So the only thing I would say in terms of his explanation is obviously the gains are going to be dependent on how you invest. Are you invested in the broader market, and what are those market returns? Now, anybody who invests in the market knows that past performance is not indicative of future performance, and certainly we are in uncharted territory. But what we do know is that money compounds over time, and so putting something away and continuing to invest and hopefully getting some gains that compound, it could be that amount, it could be less, it could be more, but it's an excellent habit. And at the end of the day, your kids are going to end up with more than if you took that money and instead, spend it on nonsense around your house.
I couldn't agree more. And here's CNBC, your former network, Cut 14 guys, giving the Trump administration credit for having the first trade deficit under $30 billion since, I don't know, forever. I guess, 16 years is forever. This is Cut 14. Go.
We're not done yet, folks. We have the trade balance. This is a November number, and we have to give the administration some credit. This has been going down huge. Expecting minus 44 billion. It comes in at minus 56 billion. More than expected. Minus 56 will be the biggest going back to July of last year when it was basically around 74 with a minus sign. And another notable, in the rearview mirror, minus 29.4 becomes minus 29.2. And, boy, that's unbelievable. The last time we had a deficit under 30 billion, equivalent to this year, going back to 2009.
All right. So your thoughts on that report there, Carol? I mean, things are going pretty well.
Well, I love Rick Santelli and love his enthusiasm about everything.
Enthusiasm, yes.
And if you are a fan of reducing the trade deficit, this is a good thing. But let me tie it back to what we were just talking about with the stock market. Ray Dalio, who is a former hedge fund magnate, a multi-billionaire, super smart guy, he said on CNBC at Davos that on the opposite side of trade wars are capital wars. So we can leverage trade and access to our big economy and all of the consumers. But what foreign countries have is that they have a ton of investments. It's $27 trillion on net that they have invested. I think China and Japan alone is around 20 or 21 trillion in our stock markets and in our bond markets. And so that means that if they don't like what we are doing on trade, they can turn around and pull capital out of our markets, which we know would have effects of having our stock market go down or the yields that we're paying on debt go up. So we have to be careful. This is not we have all the leverage situation and we can just, say this is a good thing. We have to look at sort of the 360-degree view, and we're in a very precarious situation. So, we need the stock market to continue to go up. It's critical for government revenue. And so hopefully there's a balance between making sure that we have more free and more fair trade, but that we also are not seeing other companies flex all of that capital that they have invested here in the United States that could impact the wealth, the cost of our debt, and other things.
Very good. So let's change the whole course here right now, Carol, because serious conversation to this point, you and me. Let's go through the top 100. 100. We don't have a lot of time. Let's go through the top 10 comedies of all time. All right?
Oh,
I'll give you my top 5. All right.
Okay.
Forget top 10. I'm going, I loved Caddyshack as number 1. I loved Stripes as number 2. Now, that's a Bill Murray thing. I know I'm on a roll here. Ghostbusters, number 3. Naked Gun, number 4. And then number 5, there's Something About Mary. How about you?
Interesting. All right. So number 1, if anybody follows me on X/Twitter, my number 1 is Airplane. Because every week it's the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. And Joe, Airplane. If you put Naked Gun on your list,
on Fox.
Airplane should be number 1. That's just
maybe you're right. Okay.
That's straight up. Obviously, I love a lot of the ones that you threw out there. Coming to America, I know it's not like the straight up gag fest, but just in terms of a lighthearted, super well-written movie, absolutely love that. If we can go into the rom-com genre, I'm going to
can I stop there for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy.
So you don't have Beverly Hills Cop or 48 Hours. You don't have that before Coming to America. Am I correct on that?
Those are both great, hilarious movies. Beverly Hills Cop. I quote the Serge, that particular little thing all the time, that little scene, and make people watch it all the time because absolutely hilarious. But I think Coming to America, and frankly, Trading Places, because I'm a Wall Street gal, so I've got to throw that up there.
Sure.
If I'm going to get into the rom-com genre, which you would never make today, 16 Candles absolutely has to be up
John
there.
Hughes, yeah.
And then, maybe we got to throw like an Animal House in there.
Yeah. Oh, boy, you're right about that.
John
Belushi at his best. Yep, nope, boy.
But
I don't think you could confine it to 5. I think you're right about that.
Neither of us has said anything that's been made in the last 2 decades, which just goes to show how everyone, including Hollywood, has lost their sense of humor, and that is a shame. Because you go back, and the best comedies, were center of the plate 80s, with some in the 70s and some in the 90s.
You're so true about that. I mean, Wolf of Wall Street, I don't think was a comedy.
No.
It's more, I don't know quite what it was.
Abomination.
It is. It's Scorsese. I get it. I thought it was tremendous. Margot Robbie, Leonardo DiCaprio, Bo Dietl, who obviously has to show up in every movie by Mr. Scorsese. But no, you're right about that. Fargo, is that a comedy?
It's a dark comedy, right? So that's a dark comedy. That's its own genre. We would have to kind of go through things that are in that specific genre. It's hard to throw Fargo up against Caddyshack.
How about Office Space? I mean, with Rob Livingston, that's a great movie as well. But Trading
cult
Places,
classic.
did you bring that up?
No, I didn't. It's a cult classic. It's a great movie, but in terms of if I'm looking to laugh and be entertained and watch it, 12 times in a row, it's probably not that movie.
Okay. How about Fletch or, I don't know, any Chevy Chase movie from the early 80s whether we're talking about Spies Like Us I think is very underrated.
Yeah, Caddyshack we quote all the time. I don't know how you can't, but I do think it's very era specific. Also, gotta love the triple Lindy of Back to School. If you want to have the Rodney Dangerfield, who's so underrated today. We go back and watch his Carson clips all the time, and that's another one that's really great.
All right, Dumb and Dumber. Where does that rank? Like top 20?
I mean, it's probably in the top 50 to 100, but I think we could come up with a good 50 movies that are funnier than Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That makes sense, and we appreciate you coming here, by the way. Any others, a dark kind of, horse that we're missing here, like Superbad or Step Brothers, I don't know, Kingpin?
Oh, you know which one I love is The Wedding Crashers. That's one that I could just watch over and over, because that's for me is it doesn't have to be the best movie, but is it consumable? And the amount of times that I can consume and laugh at The Wedding Crashers is just, it's off the charts.
Can I tell you, that movie makes no sense if you look at it realistically. In other words, so there is a wedding that happens that Vince Vaughn and the Wilson brother, which one was it again? Owen, thank you, not Luke. Owen. They crash it. By the afternoon, they're back home playing football, I guess on some sort of coast of Maryland type of thing. What wedding ends at 2 o'clock where the same day you're playing football and then you're saying, crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does. As a Maryland guy, I get it completely. But in the end, a great movie. No, I agree with you completely. Great cast, Vince Vaughn. Who else we have in there? It was the
Rachel McAdams.
Oh, that's my hall pass.
Oh no, and you forgot her? That's not great.
No, it's been a while. Yeah, so my wife has had Tom Brady since 2000 and I don't know. We started dating in 2006, I'll call it. Always Tom Brady. I've gone through 8 different hall passes, but Rachel McAdams, I that was my first one. You're right about that. Yeah, it's not good. Did you ever have a hall pass there?
No, I like my husband. I'm going to just stick with him.
Oh,
so.
See, that's a safe pass.
Yeah. You know what we didn't talk about? I'm embarrassed for us. Is we didn't talk about Christopher Guest satirical comedies. We didn't talk about Spinal Tap and Best in Show and that whole genre.
How about Some Like It Hot? Does that count?
I mean, now we're digging really.
We're going real back. I understand. I never saw Spinal Tap. That's what I'm saying. There's a certain time I didn't see, so that's what I'm going through. How about Annie Hall? We'll leave it there.
What about Birdcage? Birdcage was pretty funny.
With
Robin Williams and Hank Azaria, Gene Hackman.
Right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'll buy that.
Nothing beats Airplane, Joe. I'm just going to put it out there. You can say whatever it is. Nothing's going to beat
number
Airplane.
1 on the Joe Concha Show list. All right, it's done. And I picked the wrong time to stop sniffing glue. Thank you, Carol Roth. We're going to leave it there. And thank you for joining us on a moment's notice, as we know. So we appreciate it. And this is the Joe Concha Show. Back with, I guess we're going to wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
Where liberalism is a no-go. The Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, I was old enough to remember 1984. Now, I was a very young child. I have to admit about that. But Walter Mondale actually ran on a platform that says we have to raise your taxes. It's necessary for XYZ. which, as any politician, is a political death note. It's suicide. And Donald Trump understands that because, again, you're going to get tax returns back now in 2026 from the big, beautiful bill. You're going to see returns like you have not seen in years. And he knows that. And yet Democrats voted against giving people back their own money to spend on their own instead of giving it to the government. It's a beautiful thing. Nevertheless, here's Donald Trump today in Washington during a speech talking about how this is probably not a good idea if you're a Democrat and you want to win re-election or win the midterms. Cut number 10, go.
Every single Democrat in Congress voted to raise taxes on hardworking citizens. Their whole campaign was raise taxes. I've never heard of it before. All my life I grew up, and I hear politicians, we will cut taxes. This is the only group I've ever seen. We're going to raise your taxes. No wonder they lost.
And Mondale, who ran on that platform, won exactly one state, his own, Minnesota, 1984 by 4,000 votes. If Reagan even remotely stepped foot in that state and actually campaigned, it would have been 50 out of 50. But Reagan, showing some class, did not do that to Mondale, and then here we are. Nevertheless, this is what Democrats are running on. When they talk about affordability, and we're the party that's going to give you affordability, oh no, that's not happening under the Democratic regime, no question about it. Anyway, here's Hakeem Jeffries, by the way. You got to love this. He's trying to, trust me, I know this from going on TV. There are people in this industry, not me, but other people, that when they go on, they practice a line and they're like, oh, this is going to go viral. This is going to be awesome. If I say this on the air, it's going to go everywhere. This is Hakeem Jeffries right here in cut number 11, who practiced this probably in a shower/mirror for many, many minutes before he went on MSNBC to trot it out. And boy, he was so proud of himself. This is cut number 11. Go.
It's disgraceful. She's got to go. We are dead serious. She needs to be put on ice permanently.
Yes. Talking about Kristi Noem. Get it? Put on ice permanently? No, not practiced at all. Anyway, President Trump, well, he talks to the press a lot, right? And he actually had a cabinet meeting which goes on for 3 hours at times, which if you had to sit through anything in 3 hours, I'm sorry. I don't care if you're 78 years old like Trump or my age. What am I, 28, 38? I forget it. You know, you lose track after a while. The point is that Trump was photographed during the last cabinet meeting for 1 second, because I know this from being on TV. If you blink for a second and somebody takes a screenshot, it looks like you're sleeping, except you're blinking. The point is that Trump makes fun of this and talks about how maybe his cabinet, when you go on for 3 hours, after a while, anybody would fall asleep. This is cut number 12. Go.
We are going to ask a couple of people to say a few words, and we're not going to go through the whole table because the last time we had a press conference, it lasted for 3 hours. And some people said he closed his eyes. Look, it got pretty boring. In all fairness, I love these people. But there's a lot of people. It was a little bit on the boring side. But I didn't sleep. I just closed them because I wanted to get the hell out of here.
Well, who could blame the guy, right? I mean, at that point, it's like, 3 hours of anything. Titanic, I watched that movie. I loved it. For 3 hours, I can do it. Any other entity in any way, shape, or form, you're 78, you don't sleep a lot. After a while, you will fall asleep, no question. But at that point, Trump was just, resting his eyes, we'll put it that way. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This has been the Joe Concha Show. I think you had a great time here, and I had a great time as well. And we're back tomorrow night, Friday night, for a big, big show. 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or wherever you listen to the Joe Concha Show. In the meantime, I have 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.